and he won the election. The fact is that if we look at the past, those are just two small examples of what can happen. If we look at the past, we can see history proves that this has been used in this way, in an improper, gerrymandering way. We just look at several of the districts within Monroe County, try to fit the pieces of the puzzle together, and you will find that that puzzle says that there has been gerrymandering. I urge my colleagues across the aisle, gentlemen, I urge you to support independent redistricting. I have been fighting for independent redistricting since I was 18 years old and able to vote. Whether I was in the majority or minority, whether who I was working for was in the majority or minority, I always talked about independent redistricting. The fair vote, a vote that's based on the people and where they live, is what I've worked for. I urge you to support an independent redistricting commission for Monroe County. Let us show in Monroe County that we believe in the people who have come here to speak, in the people who have signed petitions, in the many, many people I have spoken to on the phone, received emails from, received letters from, to support independent redistricting. Listen to the will of the people. The people have spoken, and the people are speaking, and the people will continue to speak. Thank you.
Is there any further discussion? Legislator Parker.
Mr. Chairman, first, Mr. Esposito, I believe there was one comment that you would like to change. You gave credit to the minority leader for accusing your proposal of being a whining proposal, and that sounds more like the majority leader to me.
Thank you.
So I didn't think that Mr. I thought Harry might be calling you quickly. Maybe not say that.
Optimistic thing.
Yes. So I would like to explain, I'll be voting against Mr. Esposito's proposal, even though I was impressed as always with his passion and with his clarity of his arguments. And duly noted that many of the comments that you and I discussed back on January 2nd that you touched on in there, and I did listen. As I said on January 2nd when we spoke, I believe that this proposal takes it out of the hands of the legislators where I believe it's duly responsible. It's our job to do this. I believe that giving over power to commissions of appointed people, and as great as that sounds, I just don't see the term independent is the term that always gets to me. And I don't see how that can happen. It's our job, it's our responsibility. And in the end, it's the voters that will make the decision anyway. I remember 1991, Mr. Chairman. I remember in 1991 when the process didn't work. And the lines were drawn in such a way that the majority of the citizens put it up for referendum and voted 2-1 to redraw the lines again in 1992. And we have that ability this time. If that happens, if the commission that we just voted to appoint comes forward again and puts something forward that's frankly isn't what the community wants, the community will get rid of it. They've proven that they will do that. They did it in 1991 when the proposal was put forward that just didn't fit what the county of Monroe wanted. If there was a grand gerrymandering plan out there, the people drawing the lines haven't done a very good job. The last majority party member to defeat a minority member, the last time a Republican won it, beat a Democratic incumbent, I believe it was sometime in the 1990s. One time. And frankly, with term limits, Mr. Chairman, it's become, the average membership duty here is 4.5 years, the people last year with the term limits. If you look at when I got here 7 short years ago, Galvin Lee is the only Democrat that's still here from when I got here, and Mark Cassetti and Jeff McCann are the only 2 Republicans left. The term limit has done as it's supposed to. It moves people in and out of here. As far as with the 29 districts, I would say, and I'm not a political operative and I'm not an expert, but I would say out of the 29 districts, with the exception of the districts that sit within the city of Rochester, maybe Brighton, and maybe Mr. Colby's, but that's just because it's Mr. Colby. All of the districts are competitive. And we've proven 2 and 4 years ago with all the money that was spent by both parties to keep control of the legislature. So as high-minded as I think legislator Esposito's proposal is, I don't think that it works. I don't think it will work, and so I'm going to vote against it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Legislator Howe.
Mr. Chairman, I received one email about this. I received one email about this proposal since it was first put into the newspaper. And to keep my remarks short, I would like to read my response to that email because it was someone that was encouraging me to support Legislator Esposito's proposal. I would also like people to listen to many of the points I made in the letter because I heard many of them in Legislator Esposito's speech, even right down to some of the words like shenanigans that I used in the letter to respond to her. So I wonder if this person might not have been someone who was trying to get information from me to take back to the people making this proposal. Dear Mary, thank you for your email regarding redistricting for the Monroe County Legislature. As you pointed out, I pride myself regarding my independence and try to look at both sides of an issue. As I understand it, Legislator Esposito has brought his plan forth to cure 2 ills. One, he'd like to divide the county so there are more competitive races, and we've heard that tonight. And 2, he would like to be sure that no community, city, town, village, or neighborhood be divided so their political strength is diminished. These are 2 noble goals, but you cannot accomplish the first without destroying the second. This is because Democrats are centralized more in the city and Republicans are located more in the surrounding towns. The Voting Rights Act of 1965 was passed to ensure the voting rights of all in the Supreme Court decisions of Thornburg versus Ginglas, the League of Latin American Citizens versus Perry, and Bartlett versus Strickland ensure that the power of voters is in a homogeneous community are protected. I believe the current process ensures this as well as any. Indeed, when I was sworn in last January, the legislature was divided 15-14. You cannot get any more equal than that. If after the districts are drawn, someone believes shenanigans have taken place, the people have the right to sue or petition to set the districts aside. In 1991, this actually happened where the districts were put to referendum, defeated, and had to be redrawn. I also believe a nonpartisan committee of 10 people would be hard to find. These people would be chosen by the same people who do not want drawing the district lines. Even the suggested retired judges would probably still have a bias for the party that got them elected. Finally, the use of an even number on the committee, 10, may slow the process to a crawl, causing even more political bickering. Mary, I will remain open to all the arguments until it is time to vote. At this time, however, I have not been convinced that Legislator Esposito's plan would not have the same concerns that our current one has. The best protection against partisan redistricting is our right of petition once the redistricting is done. So, as you heard, many of the things that were in this letter were mentioned by the legislator. The idea of not having districts drawn, or having districts drawn without looking at the voting registrations would completely eliminate the idea of having competitive districts. And I think the Supreme Court has done that also by the decisions they've made to protect the people in the areas where they have a like belief. And I do have to question if there hasn't been some changes in Legislator Esposito's position, because in December 22nd, 2010, it is mentioned in an article, the process, because lawmakers would have to appeal to districts that have comparable numbers of Republicans and Democrats. Well, you don't get comparable numbers of Republicans and Democrats without looking at the voter rolls. So I guess I am a little bit confused what they are looking for here. Are they looking to protect like areas, like villages, towns, and neighborhoods, so people don't lose or their voting rights aren't diminished, or are they trying to have more competitive races by equaling the number of Republicans with Democrats, which would cause districts to be drawn like spokes on a bicycle wheel, which I don't think anybody would like. Thank you.
Is there any further discussion? Legislator Esposito.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to thank both of my colleagues for their points. I would like to clarify Mr. Holland's last point. It is not inconsistent to say if you don't use party enrollment data that you will get competitive districts with even numbers of Democrats and Republicans. The point is simply, if you eliminated that criteria from drawing the districts, you would get districts that are more competitive, Democrat to Republican, than districts that are drawn specifically to reduce that competition. So I understand how the quote may seem a little incongruous, but I can assure you, I believe and have always believed that voter enrollment data should not be considered in districting. And that is the key thing here. I mean, I could even, I think, live with the current process if I was sure that that data was not part of the consideration of the commission. So I just wanted to correct that. And I'd like to also thank Legislator Barker for his opinion. It's hard to argue with someone who's elected to a body like this and doesn't want to abdicate their responsibility on something as important as this. However, I will say it is not lost on me the irony of the fact that this body continues to abdicate a lot of its responsibility from the actual governing and business of county operations to LDCs, to authorities, and to other entities so that they're outside the purview of this legislature. And on an issue when we have a direct conflict of interest, we're unwilling to do the same thing. So that would be my argument to that. By no means is an independent panel going to be perfect. I understand your skepticism that someone will take that and hijack it for some ulterior motive. However, there is a lot of precedence in this body for creating commissions and boards to do things that we feel can be done better than this body. I disagree with them more often, particularly when it comes to the operations of important county functions. I do not believe that is the case when legislators have a conflict of interest in putting their party and their personal re-election paramount instead of the proper way to divide districts in the county. So I thank you for the points. I did reflect a lot of them, obviously, for the last few months. There's been lots of discussion. There's been lots of back and forth. There's been comments in the paper that I've tried to react to as straightforwardly as I could. I can assure you I did not take any letters or emails for the purposes of forming an argument from anyone else. I have reached out as many times, as many ways as I can and could think of over the last few weeks or months, because I believe this really is an opportunity for us to put the community first, party second, and improve our democratic process. And that's what this is about, and that's what it will continue to be about, regardless of the vote here tonight. So thank you, Mr. Chairman, for the time. Thank you for your thoughts and for the opportunity to clarify some statements.
Legislator Howell.
Mr. Chairman, just one short comment. Through you, Mr. Chairman, Legislator Esposito, I certainly appreciate your clarification of what you meant by trying to have competitive districts, but I am still a little bit confused because as long as we are drawing districts to keep like people together, people with like beliefs or like needs and things like that, you're going to have people vote more one way than another, and you're going to have people being reelected again and again. And I think Mr. Barker made a good point saying that the term limits took care of this.
Legislator Esposito.
Sure. I appreciate that. As I said in my comments, I don't think there's any way we could divide up some portions of this county to have competitive elections. There are just too many places where residents have like mind with regards to their political affiliation and their voting habits. The point is just in those other places to not draw the line specifically to avoid that competition, and that's what happens right now. So we can certainly disagree on that point. I think it's very clear from the history of redistricting at all levels that that's what happens. Because voter data is used as the paramount piece of information, districts are drawn to find certain voters to avoid what would otherwise be more competitive elections in communities. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Is there any further discussion? Legislator Echo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to reiterate a couple of things that have been said tonight, that I feel that our job is not to draw lines every 10 years. If our job was to draw lines for every 10 years, our terms would be longer than 10 years. Our job is the fiduciary responsibility of this county, to run this county in a proper manner, to run it without giving up our responsibility. So please, again, I ask you to reconsider your opinion. We have done everything we can to reach out, to answer questions, to allow time for this to be looked at, read, for questions to be brought forward. We've done everything we can to show that we want to work with you. Please reconsider and vote yes for independent redistricting. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Legislator Esposito.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to make one final comment, if I may. Recognizing from my colleagues' intention to vote no, I guess I'm just appealing to you. But I would certainly put forth the same offer I've put forward for the last few months. Until March 25th, when this commission has to do its work, I'm open to discussion about any process that would change the current partisan redistricting process to be reformed, to be more independent and more nonpartisan than it is, and to remove the conflict of interest that any legislators serve. That offer stands. If people don't want judges on there, that's fine. If they don't want public policy advocacy groups on there, that's fine. I'm open to suggestions. I've not heard many. I'm hopeful that I will still hear some, and I would continue to put that offer forward today, before this vote, and going forward before March 25th when the commission gets to work. So thank you very much. I appreciate the debate and the points that have been made. I urge everyone to vote yes for this referral.
Any further discussion?
Roll call.
Roll call vote.
Mr. Barker?
No.
Mr. Eckel?
Absolutely.
Mr. Esposito?
Yes.
Mr. Howland?
No.
Chairman Yolovich?
No.
2 to 3.
Motion fails. Next item on the agenda.